Alright everybody, the Old Wolf here, Tuesday, October 19th, 2021, coming at you live from Rochester, New York, north of the wall. Time for another fun time of witch and wolf wisdom. As always, thank you everybody for taking the time to help us out, subscribing, sharing, all those beautiful things. We truly appreciate it.
So.
Now I wanted to start tonight kind of with a little bit of a follow-up from last week, since the proverbial shit has been hitting the fan regarding Dave Chappelle and his latest Netflix special. And just to clarify for anybody that it matters to, for future reference or in the moment, I don't think he or myself or anybody is saying that people shouldn't be allowed to express themselves, to feel what they want to feel, to even identify to different degrees with this, that, or the other thing. But there is a fine line, I believe, and he believes and speaks to, in regards to where we can take these things. And again, it's not a reflection of saying that somebody's less than or that they're fucking weird or anything like that. But within any basic structure of things, there has to be a little bit of that kind of boundary area. And I'll use the analogy, would be like me just deciding arbitrarily that I want to identify as Eric Clapton, and as such, because I identify as Eric Clapton, I should be entitled to Eric Clapton's royalties, Eric Clapton's wife, Eric Clapton's guitars, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like that, well, that's probably not going to fly. And I think most people would agree and look at it and say, yeah, no, that's outside the box. But in the same instance, again, as a form of expression, if you choose to express yourself, if you choose to act within certain parameters of things, sure, yeah, it's okay. But it's when it crosses into those really fine line elements that I think a lot of people, and justifiably, say, hey, wait a minute. Now again, there's always that gray area. But like I was talking about last week, you really have to think, especially in the framework when you're dealing with schools and children, to what degree can we allow this crossover, aka you can't have a 15-year-old boy all of a sudden just decide, hey, I identify as a woman, now I want to compete on the woman's wrestling team, you know what I mean, and compete.
I think there is a fine line,
compete within that element.
I mean, if they wanted to have, like, there's physiological differences. Like I said, I as a woman would not want to compete against somebody with a man's strength.
Correct.
If it was not an equal, relatively equal contest.
Right. And again, it's not saying that he can't express himself as a woman or dress as a woman or any of those other elements. You can, live and love and all those things. But the fine line again becomes, hey, can't really do this. Yeah. And again, it is the analogy, anybody could then, using that kind of justification, say, I want to identify as this or that or the other thing.
I want to identify as a cat and sleep all day.
Well, right, exactly.
I mean, can I do that?
I want to, I wanted to, basically identify as a fire-breathing dragon and basically go burn cities down. And collect their loot and build my own horde.
Aren't you already a fire-breathing dragon?
No, I'm a wolf.
Oh, okay.
But again, the analogy is, where do we draw the line? What do we say?
Hey, Randy, Jan.
Hello, everybody. Yes, thank you again for coming. And again, it's not to be offensive or to say, hey, you don't count, or that you can't be a part of, but there has to, again, be a fine line to what is acceptable for the greater good.
Ash says you're a fire-breathing wolf.
I'm a fire-breathing wolf. I mean, there's always, one way to flip it versus another. Absolutely. Oh, there's my sister Courtney. Hello there. Yes, welcome to the Wolf Podcast, Witch and Wolf Wisdom 101.
Hello, Miss Courtney. Good to see you again.
But again, it's the tonight's podcast, being a dream to some, a nightmare to others, I thought was a good. Yes, it was appropriate in the framework. My next workshop is going to specifically be about dream interpretations, and throw that up there. That will be the week of November 2nd, so it'll be November 2nd, 4th, and 6th, respectively at 2:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m., and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please feel free to go on, follow the link and sign up. As always, mentorship circle members get the discount.
Yep, absolutely.
And, you and I both agreed that this would be a good context to really explore.
You normally do like private readings for dream analysis, and that goes anywhere between 45 to 95, depending if they want the short or the long.
Right.
But so this is a chance for them to get a dream analysis live with you, while learning how to analyze their dreams all at the same time.
I thought that was also
the
important element, and what I've been trying to focus a little bit more on is giving people the tools to work within themselves, because we don't always have the luxury of, say, spending money on a reading or going to the specialty elements. So the more that we can do things within ourselves even makes us obviously stronger, and it's ultimately better. Now, granted, I know you'll argue that I'm selling myself short, but
I would argue that you're selling yourself short. And Jeremy, the wolf is for my eyes only tonight.
No. Sorry, brother. None of that tonight, as they say. I will be playing some videos and things and music throughout the evening. Yes, Facebook is sometimes weird with the streaming.
Yes, please join us on the YouTube. If you just get on the YouTube and at Lady Shiya and the Old Wolf, you will find us.
Yes.
So, or you can just go the channel, and the actual channel name is Lady Shiya, the Old Wolf together. You can just type that in.
You can do that too.
So, yep, absolutely.
But yes, please, your subscriptions, while free to you, greatly help us in expanding the elements that we do.
Amen.
Just as like the workshops and the lives, which again brings me to the other element, with tomorrow being, what is it again?
Tomorrow is the full moon in Aries. It is the Hunter's Moon.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, basically, the Hunter's Moon, this is one of the last moons of the year that in the days of old, the hunters could go out and get some night hunting and night tracking done during this time of year, so that they would get their food for the winter to start stocking up. So this is the time for us to go forward and claim our abundance that'll last us through the next season of our life. And of course, this being in Aries, this is all about independence and taking charge of your life. So you want to claim that for you. And yes, we are live on YouTube right now, Miss Courtney. You betcha. But basically,
is it live or Memorex?
It is definitely live.
Is it live?
How many people actually remember that?
So if I fart now, it'll go out across the world?
It'll go out across the world.
Oh.
Hello, Monica Maples. But, the full moon has 3 days of power. Tonight is being the first one. This is the waxing gibbous moon. So now is the time to prepare. Tomorrow is the actual full moon. And that's the time to really, the battery, full battery to do whatever you need to do. But this is all about getting those energies, those intense energies working for you. So, I mean, it's tomorrow night we're going to have some amazingly powerful readings, and I'm going to be doing a special abundance spell that I've been doing for leading up to the full moon, and tomorrow night's going to be the culmination of that. So,
very, very cool. So yes, tomorrow on
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Lady Shiya and the Old Wolf Facebook page, and on the YouTube.
That's right. And also, is there something else that this is going out to?
We're seeing where I joined Twitter today. I did the Twitter thing. So for anybody listening on Twitter, hey, shout out. I don't know if anybody's actually on the Twitter or not, but hey, what the heck? We'll figure it out.
You finally did it, didn't you?
I did it. I did.
You broke down and
tweeted. I have tweeted. Tweet.
Sucking on the golden Twitter.
I after Facebook went down the other day, I'm a lot more kind of like, okay, let's see where else we can expand to besides just Facebook.
Strength in numbers, numbers.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rosa, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
That's great. Psychic medium Rosa Gitana 11.
Actually,
Uh-oh.
I know who exactly.
You know who exactly? Who is that?
Exactly who that is. That would be Magdalia.
Hey, how you doing?
So.
It's always nice to have at least a framework of context. That's the internet is like.
Once you said her name, I'm like, oh, that's Dahlia. Yeah, Magdalia. So.
Yeah, because we can get lost in all these.
We can.
But listen, it's not all that much different to some degrees. Again, I grew up, within, music and bikers and, gypsies and things like that. So within the biker community, we all had, odd little names, 8-Man and Rat Boy and Fat Ass.
I was wondering if Fat Ass.
You know what I mean? So,
that.
Again, you have a little bit more of a variance out here on, the internet, because it just becomes, like this random character assault of, you know what I mean? Never exactly sure what the hell's going to come through. But it also, it creates that element. And, I've discussed this a few times. A lot of the people within our circles cross over between, the online and the reality. Case in example, Courtney is a personal friend of ours. You know what I mean? I know her directly. I've known her for years. So having those little elements of personal nature gives it, a little bit, extra flavor. And speaking of extra flavor, I will start with my shameless promotions. Again, my brother tattoo, Tony Rodriguez, been a friend of mine for years, incredible tattoo artist, incredible musician, incredible father, but he also has another interesting thing that he was doing, and it's called the Popco Sticker Company. And basically what Tony's done is he's taken his abilities in art and technology and all of that, and on the side, what he's been doing is making custom stickers.
I'll tell you what, I've seen his setup, and that, I was actually impressed. He's like, I walk in there and there's like stuff everywhere and all these crazy stickers everywhere. When Tony does something, he goes all the way, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's no joke. You want to talk about a guy who's dedicated, to what he does. Yeah. But I threw the link out there. For anybody, again, little things, they're great for kids. They're great if you have elements of, be it a musician, if you want stickers for your guitar case, if you want a bumper sticker for your car. He does it to the degree that he can do like entire car hood cover type of things for your business or, for your band and things. But definitely, go check them out. Facebook.com/Popo Sticker Company. And for those of you who don't do the Facebook thing, I will share the actual direct website. Yes, PopoStickerCompany.com.
Now, I did put on the Facebook the actual link to the current video right now. So if anybody on Facebook's having problems to view it, then on the pinned comment, you can just click that link and it'll bring you over to the YouTube.
Very, very cool. But yes, again, great guy, really been, working hard over the years. He's also the founder and the head of the charity organization that I've been a member with for a good number of years, the Under My Skin for Life Foundation.
Yes, autism,
veterans, causes, things like that. They just did an event a few weeks ago, raised over, I think, close to $7,000.
Yeah, I think that's
for the day, which again, especially, in this kind of pseudo, almost post-COVID type of thing.
I don't know, we're quite post.
Well, listen, they pulled off an outdoor event. Yeah. With bands and, vendors and stuff and, stuff for the kids. And get it. Listen, I understand not everybody's, comfortable or ready to do it, but, a lot of people are. A lot of people need it.
A lot of people, yeah.
So it was really, they did a really great job. It was a really beautiful day. Everybody had a really great time. And with that, one of the tracks that I will be, at least on the podcast, premiering, it's been out for a little while, is from Tony's band, Broken Past. Broken Past actually was the band that I was in up until a couple of years ago.
That's very cool.
With myself and my son, and we moved, came up here upstate New York, and Tony continued the band and brought some really great musicians in to continue it. And they wrote and recorded a track that, again, is, dedicated to veterans. You know what I mean? Very simply, within the circle of elements, for lack of a better way to put it, we talk a really great talk about, the things that we can do and the things that we should do. But for many generations, and this is one of my, I guess you could say, soapbox causes, is we don't take care of our service people. Okay, we don't take care of them before they go over, and we surely do not take care of them when they come back. And it's a tragedy, and in my opinion, a crime.
I agree. Because they're willing to lay down their lives. They're willing to pay
say whatever
the
you want.
ultimate price,
Right.
if it's necessary.
Say whatever you want about the politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Left or right, it doesn't matter. And many of them, for all intents and purposes, are kids initially, especially going in. They go out there with the framework of defending a concept.
Yes.
Okay? An element of honor, of duty, responsibility. And listen, war sucks. It's fucked up. Don't get me wrong. Not condoning it. But you cannot blame the men and women who go out there to serve, who follow, a line that most people can really only imagine. You know what I mean? It is a whole nother reality out there.
I mean, if we didn't have our service people, I can only imagine where we would be now, and we would be screwed. We may not want to support the cause, we may not want to support the war, but, like Vietnam, when those servicemen came back, they were treated like shit, and it wasn't them that chose to go there. Many of them were drafted.
Yeah.
I've had it to where I go up and say, thank you for your service to a Vietnam vet, and he broke down crying.
There's a lot of twisted elements within our history. Unfortunately, perspective being what it is, requires time and distance to really be able to appreciate and understand. Doesn't change the element, doesn't change the sacrifice. My philosophy, my argument, again, is you don't have to agree with the elements or the politics
No, you don't.
to support your brothers and sisters. Okay? Pure and simple. So with that, I am going to segue and premiere Broken Past. Some gave all. Please enjoy, and we'll be back a couple of minutes once we switch it on over. All right, so again, that was Broken Past, Some Gave All. Great bunch of guys. My brother, Tattoo Tony Rodriguez, has been the core of that band for many years. Myself and my son, we were honored to be part of that original lineup, and they have just continued to grow and develop. And, you know, an incredible video, incredible song. Again, not everybody likes every style of music, but it really is nice that even within different genres of music that we can find, again, those common elements. In this case, you know, obviously the context of our veterans and supporting them. Some gave all, and they really did.
Now, I noticed a belt drive bike in there, and you told me something about it while we were watching
That
the
was a Marine Corps Harley Davidson. We've made it a point. Tony's made it a point over the years for our big events. We always do a bike run. We've been very active, very supportive within many of the Legion groups, different, you know, veterans associations, be they motorcycle or otherwise. And you can saw on the video, there were some guys from a couple different, you know, clubs that had been involved, again, different degrees. The philosophy, again, which is one that I promote all the time, you know, strength in numbers. And if you want to check those guys out, here is the link to their YouTube channel. Please go on over there, just like us, you know, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, and really helps everybody out, gets the word out, spreads it around for everybody to hear and share. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
You know, one thing I will say, in general, I have found bikers in general to be a very charitable people. They do a lot of charity runs, a lot of charity rides. They do, you know, reach outs to the vets. You know, you've got clubs like BACA that take care of child abuse and stuff like that. I mean,
it's not all Sons of Anarchy.
No, it's not all Sons of Anarchy. And I think bikers get a bad rep a lot of times when sometimes they are some of the most charitable, most active in the communities out there.
Listen, like with any group, you have the stereotypes. You've got your good and your bad. Mm-hmm. It is unfortunate that it carries over. Again, there are certain elements within those stereotypes, the stigmas, tattoos, long hair, motorcycles, loud music. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know.
I love it all.
But listen, you know, and here's the simple thing. You know, people are always going to find something to hate. You know, if there's one constant in human nature is people find things to fucking hate. We waste more time and energy on hating when it really, you know, it does nobody any good in the end. But hey, you know, again, to each their own.
It's a big giant waste of energy to hate.
Yeah. Well, again, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But Ash made a really, you know, a somber point, and you know, unfortunately, I've had to dance this dance with a few of us and know that, you know, a lot of times, you know, these men and women, they come back, they don't have support, they don't get any of the resources or help they need, and, you know what I mean, it really just, it becomes a one-way street.
I know the healthcare is difficult for them, trying to get support, trying to, actually, if they were disabled somehow in the service, to prove it, and I mean, it's a crazy, it's a shit show.
Tough.
It
you know,
really is.
You have such really incredibly above the scale high ends of not only, you know, suicide, alcoholism, drug addiction, depression, domestic abuse. You know, it runs the gambit.
It really does.
Unfortunately, across the board. So, you know, when people say, hey, you know, what can I do? You know, anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
go down to, you know, your local, you know, Legion group or local veterans group. They're always, you know, looking for help. You know, it could be something as simple as, you know, a couple hours on a Saturday making sandwiches.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Or even just sitting there and hanging out at the VA and talking to people. I mean, sometimes somebody needs somebody to tell their stories to. You know, let them know that you're loved and
the little things that we can do come back 1,000-fold.
Yeah. Because, I mean, sometimes that's all it takes is a little bit of dignity to help with somebody, you know, to give them that little bit of...
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know? So.
Which, you know, brings us to your mentorship circle.
Oh, okay. Interesting segue.
Well, you know, again, within that support element and that, you know, that networking aspect. But it is.
Well,
it's incredibly important.
You always say strength of numbers, and that's a very important thing, especially when you're going through any kind of spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening, trying to understand yourself. I always talk about shadow work. Shadow work, and shadow work some more. And that's kind of going through and understanding yourself and your own psyche and your traumas. You just did a trauma workshop recently. Trigger. And how to kind of work through them and analyze them and get them to where you're in control of them, not them in control of you. Dealing with your demons.
Well, we've talked about it also in the context that real recovery, and regardless of what you frame that recovery around, because in many ways, life is a process in a series of recovery from one element to the next.
Life.
Yes. But within these different branches within it, regardless again of the framework of it, that strength in numbers becomes critical.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you really can make a case literally at every turn of the corner where having it is always better than not having it.
I mean, one of the things you talk about, oh yay, Randy, one of the things that you talk about frequently is, being able to get that input from other people. Sometimes we get emotionally compromised when we're dealing with our own stuff, and we can't always see the truth of something. And to have other people who actually don't have harm in mind for us, or aren't trying to be selfishly motivated, who want to lift you up to kind of give an additional perspective, can be a big, giant-ass help.
Absolutely. And Randy Brom, you're live on YouTube. Welcome. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. And if anybody on Facebook wants to find the YouTube link, it is the pinned comment down below. You can just click on that and it'll take you right on over to the YouTube.
Click.
Where you can like and subscribe, please.
Yes, please share it out. Like, subscribe. That absolutely helps us in the long-term end of the journey.
Big time. In
putting all this together. Again, as you mentioned earlier, you have now expanded us into the
Twitter
drum roll,
please. Oh my gosh, I have tweeted.
Now, I have to say I'm officially a little freaked out.
Why are you freaked out by the Twitter?
I just, because Twitter always, I always associate, Twitter and those particular elements of social media is, fuckboy haven, you know what I mean? It's just I
don't know. I've been kind of exploring a little bit of the
I don't know.
It's today, and it seems like,
I have a framework that's, maybe I'm just, again, I'm stereotyping.
All I can say is the other social media went down recently and Twitter didn't.
Or is that Tinder? See, I don't even know what the fuck half of them are.
Tinder is definitely fuckboy haven.
Fuckboy haven.
That is the hookup. Okay.
Hey, brother Josh, how you doing tonight? Yeah, Twitter is always so angry. Is it really? Is it a fucking angry place?
I don't know.
I mean, I know the world's fucking angry.
The world is angry. I mean, if people have a place to express their anger, that brings us to the whole keyboard warrior thing. That some people just like to get onto Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media, whatever. And go neck and futz expressing their personal opinion, and nobody else can disagree with you.
But I disagree with that.
Well, I disagree with your disagreement.
We can agree to disagree.
But it's a full moon.
Somebody please remove these cutleries from my knees.
It's a full moon in Aries, so I win.
Oh shit! Here we go. Gonna play the fucking Aries card on me.
I'm gonna play the fucking Aries card.
Yeah, well, I guess that is my segue into tonight's next musical video. It'll be the first time that I'll be actually playing it out here. Now, again, keep in mind that this one is not complete, only in the context that my... Oh, here we go. Wait. Distraction.
Oh, yes. I worship God Yahawashi.
Ooh, takes vengeance and revenges spiritually. I love the grammar elements. Is that veggies and revenges, or vengeance and revenges? Maybe I'm just so far out.
Vengees and revenges. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
Spiritual warfare I'm unaware of.
Listen,
And con.
Hey, but that's cool. We can all.
What the hell is that word?
cognitionally, permanently.
No, but that's not really a word.
Well,
I don't know. COG.
But that's okay. I mean, it's conveying a context.
Okay.
Which is cool. Listen, I don't begrudge anybody anything until it crosses into the spectrum of if you pull your cock out in front of me, that's usually a definitive
I like the whole
game
having
over.
a religion is like having a good religion is like having a good cock. It's all nice to be proud of it and all that sort of thing, but keep it in your goddamn hands.
That's just, but my inner demon keeps me warm.
Yeah, my inner demons keep me warm too.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm best friends with my demons.
Shit, my inner demon. I wrote a song with my inner demons called Demons.
It's called Demons. Yeah.
Which again will segue into this next track. This again is not 100% complete because my brother Greg, who I'll be putting one of his tracks up later, Greg Karshuman, will be working and doing vocals. He and I have started a new project musically, which I'm incredibly excited about. You are also involved in. We're going to talk about that
we'll talk about
in
that
a little bit. But just to give a little
exciting
segue
announcement coming
and a little context, the track "Suffer the Children" was inspired by an animation video by a guy named David Oach. He did it over at Cal Arts back in 2009. It really was a film school project at the time that was basically a bit of a fucked up take on Hansel and Gretel, and that was the inspiration and the framework for this next track. And again, we played it in the background, but it has so I'm going to kind of promo it with the animation. We're getting close into the Halloween, so it's got that kind of vibe and stuff like that, and then it's got some guitar work, and I'm a guitar player. And then we'll get into this because we got an interesting one about toxic mother-in-law and a husband who tries to please his mommy no matter what. Definitely going to hit on that one when I come back.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to premiere this, put that one out, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a
mommy
toxic
issues.
Mother-in-law.
Yes, mommy issues.
So, switching on over. So yeah, that was Supper of the Children. Again, inspired from David Och's animation from Caltech. I thought it was an incredibly powerful imagery. Granted, yeah, it's a little dark, but sometimes that darker imagery really is, in my opinion, more important in conveying an image, conveying a thought, an idea, a concept even.
Yeah, I like one of the things that you talked about, the consumerism, or, how, sometimes those elements get picked up by the kids, and you have two different paths that are going on at the end of that.
But again, and it does segue a little bit into the next element, context, and I think it's a great one. Yeah.
Mommy.
There are elements, and we talked about this in the workshop, and we talk about this a lot because it really is, I think, one of those common traumas, the dysfunctional elements that are passed on generationally between parents and children.
Absolutely.
And it is an incredibly destructive and toxic cycle that, again, I think all of us to some degrees experience it directly or indirectly. If we haven't had it, literally jammed up our own asses, we know somebody who has, had to dance the dance.
You and I have both dealt with the toxic fathers.
Correct.
I have dealt with the semi-toxic mother. And a weird mother-in-law.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to the fucked up mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, you're wanting to talk about a toxic mother-in-law, a.k.a. trying to, where was it? There it is, right there. Opinions about a toxic mother-in-law and a husband who tries to please his mommy no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like she's got iron apron strings.
Well, listen, there is a case to be made that these elements, by default, because of their very nature, are passed on.
Yes.
So it creates almost this fucked up parasitic relationship between a parent and child.
Yeah.
That, it feeds. It's like a feedback loop almost in many ways. It's really codependency. Yeah, there are a lot of different variations on the theme. But you can always trace it back to, again, a lot of common elements within, control, within the framework, again, of relationship, that inner dynamic of love, of, trying to achieve some level of acceptance, being the good son or the good daughter, you know what I mean, versus, the reality that it's a bar that's always constantly, being changed in the dysfunctional element. But I would make the case to say, and I feel pretty confident in this, that you will always find some element of narcissism within that. It is, again, a narcissistic trait.
Yes.
I believe.
Well, Anarcho, the book Crucial Conversations helps when two people are willing to work together through something. So, first and foremost, I think that you have to realize that there is an issue. Like, that he needs to realize that his mother is being too intrusive on your relationship, or that something is going on in that case that you need to that there's something that needs to be addressed, that there's some kind of a toxic element, and he needs to recognize that. So the Crucial Conversations book can help in maybe having the conversation with your husband about, hey, something's not okay here.
But this is the tricky part again. It is many times lost in translation because, by, again, its very nature, reactions tend to be defensive when you cross into that spectrum, especially with a long running pattern. Those types of patterns don't happen in a day or two or a month.
No.
They're built over fucking years. And not unlike the roots of a weed, they will go deep and they will entwine into so many other fucking elements that even just trying to get into it, especially for the other side of the coin, for the partner in these elements, is difficult at best, because you have to, at least from my experience, you have to find the way to get that at least base level of reality that where both people are seeing the situation for what it is. And again, obviously in the context, like using Crucial Conversations as the example, you're right. If you don't have both parties engaged and open-minded and willing, again, aka in the same reality, you're just pissing in the fucking wind. You're just going to spin, and that will almost indefinitely spin into argument, spin into conflict, spin into all these other negative elements, especially again when the person in question reacts defensively, because that's the first defensive line.
The monster-in-law is not going to back off.
Oh, fuck no.
She's probably well developed into her habits, and so it's really going to come down to your husband having to somehow put up some boundaries there, and for him to do that, he's going to have to recognize, it's just like any other recovery. First step is realize there's a fucking problem here. That it's impacting the relationship, and it will take that crucial conversation with you and the hubby to say, hey, this is really impacting me.
Not an easy one to dance. And again, I always suggest in these situations, especially if it's reached a point, and I say this again with a grain of salt, if you reach the point where you've tried all these elements and you've been dancing this dance for an extended period of time, sometimes you have to draw boundaries. You have to draw them and say, okay, listen, you can compromise, you can accept things to a certain level, but once they cross that line, and it's not easy, because inevitably it will cause, conflict. Empaths, if you're an empath like me, we tend to try to avoid that type of conflict. Now, I mean, there was a day back in the day, and I still have flashes of it even now, because it is, as I like to call, part of my inner wolf, where I embraced that element. I wanted the confrontation. It was like, bring it the fuck on, motherfuckers.
You did it with your hands. I did it verbally.
But I did it both. Well, the verbal was the bait.
Yeah.
See, I was too smart for my own good, so, you could look at a character and be like, oh, this motherfucker's soft. And then you just play upon, whatever, particular trigger element that you know what I mean? And especially, and again, back in the day, I'll use the Brooklyn analogy. All you have to do is just, kind of look at a guy, give him a wink, and be like, hey, I guess you like the cock. And bang, it was on.
Oh, Jesus.
It was fucking on, man.
Oh, Jesus.
Well,
and Arco, you're saying, he's like, she's like this. You need to accept her, try to ignore her. Again, you'll need to set your own boundaries. You're going to have to come and say, you know what, I can accept it to this point, but this is my boundary. And
boundaries are tough.
If you're not going to set boundaries, I will set the boundary. If you're going to engage with her, I'm not going to be there.
Now, here is the other side of the coin. Sometimes, to certain degrees, we have to decide where we are going to compromise.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a long-term relationship, and I'll use the L word, love. You love somebody. If you love someone. But if you really, again, if you're committed to that context, and this is going to sound macabre and fucked up, but, maybe the lesser evil is to sit back, bide your time, and wait for the bitch to fucking die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we always have to we got to look at it. We got to analyze, is it worth going down certain rabbit holes, especially if we know that this is, inevitably to the degree that it is, and, usually within a relationship, we like to believe that we understand our partner to the degree that, again, if you've been dancing it for a while, you know what I mean? It is a trade-off. Life is about compromise.
Let's reverse this situation a little bit, Anarcho, and let's pretend that there's a narcissistic father involved with a daughter who is just absolutely dead set on running her life, and her poor partner's having to put up with that for a long time. It took me a long time to realize, actually I was almost 40 before I finally said that's enough. I'm done. No more. And slowly over time I started putting up more and more and more boundaries, because I realized it was impacting my marriage, and that my father just kind of being completely overbearing on everything was causing a problem on a regular basis. So I would put up with him in certain contexts and not in others. And that might be the best possible option is, okay, you know, we are containing monster-in-law to this particular area, but on these nights, these are
Or Shaw says, throw her down the rabbit hole. Right. I love that, brother. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. Be like, peace out, bitch. Woo!
But basically that there are family times, or at least setting up specific times, that if monster-in-law calls, we don't answer. You know, we go out and we put up with her just for Sunday dinner, and that's it. Okay? But the rest of the time, monster-in-law has no context.
You know, again, in many elements, you know, the uniqueness of the situation can give us options in that compromise. I mean, again, it's unique to the situation, so you really got to look at the framework of what's going on in those specific dynamics and say, okay, I can deal with this, but that's just too fucked up.
But I will say, as a daughter to my father, I felt that obligation, like I would lose my family somehow, that I had to put up with him and how he was, because he was my dad, because he was family. And I felt obligated to deal with that. And that may be the same kind of feelings your husband's dealing with his mom, that he doesn't want to lose her entirely. Now, when I finally had enough, let me tell you, I did lose my parents entirely, and I was much better off for it.
Again, these are all great points in the specifics of the individual and the situation. You know, there are a lot of those types of elements, you know, especially, again, if a person's been conditioned, and it's safe to say when you're looking at the framework of a parent-child relationship that it's been going on for a while. So in many cases, you're talking decades of fucking conditional elements.
Yes, very much so.
You know, that have just been hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered. And again, you know, Debbie, you know, throws out an interesting context. You know, her father was always her hero, yet he always let women steamroll the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
How could I respect a man when he didn't have a spine? And she was the evil wild child because you would run away, and she left home at 15. Yeah, I mean, I took off because, you know, the context became so violent. You know, my father was abusive, and when he got drunk, would, you know, either beat up on my mother or beat up on me. I had younger brothers and sisters. So eventually the framework created itself where the physical confrontation, I fought back, and when I finally put him on his ass, it was, you know, game over, you gotta go, kid.
Yeah.
But we all handle those different elements. You know, my father still did the same types of narcissistic behaviors that carried over in, you know, he became a monster-in-law to my brother's wife. He was a monster-in-law to my son's mother. You know, I joke about this, but true story, you know, my father tried to fuck my wife at the time. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard, you know, using Debbie's analogy, how the fuck can you respect somebody, you know, that tries to fuck their son's wife, you know, his grandson's mother? You know, it's just insane to, you know, frame it beyond those elements. So yeah, we work past it, but even to some degree, it's just this, the element of vocalizing, you know, throwing it out there, putting it in a tangible element, saying, hey, I've experienced this. This is how I feel. This is what I think. It gives us at least an element, of, you know, basic support, but also, too, in not having to carry some of the burdens of it, be they perceived or otherwise.
So, I mean, the only thing you can really do is set up boundaries. You mentioned that, you know, hey, she gets pissed off if you don't answer. You know, my dad got so pissed off that I didn't answer for a week that he sent the cops up to do a wellness check on me.
Well,
but I had to set those boundaries, and at some point, yeah, it's ugly. Anytime you boundary set, it's ugly.
listen, you know,
somebody gets pissed off about the boundaries.
My son's mother, you know, showed up at his high school graduation all fucked up, and I saw a story today about a woman who ran into a school, an outdoor school function. There was basically like 30 8th graders outside in a thing, and she basically jumped the fence naked.
Oh my God.
Fucking whacked out on heroin and just ran through the thing.
No.
And it made me think about my kid's mother. You know, granted, she didn't do anything as horrendous, but she showed up, you know, all fucked up and stuff. And, you know, my mother was with us and stuff. And I literally thought my mother was going to fucking kill her.
I would not have blamed her.
Oh, I mean, it was so close, you know. And
my.
my poor son was just like, oh, Jesus, you know what I mean? You know, and he did. He handled it correctly. But listen, you know, this is the great tragedy of the human condition, are the elements that are, you know, passed on generationally, that we carry these dysfunctions, that, you know, for all of our insight, for all of our fucking technology, for all of our money and this and that, you know, we still have these elements and they go on every day. I saw another story today, and I think this was worth mentioning because it again just blew my mind about the state of affairs. You know, a woman was on I think it was a SEPTA train, and basically, you know, some fucked up whack job tries to rape her. So he's trying to rape her.
On the train.
Trying to rape her on the train. Oh, it gets better. You know, just the simple context of this asshole trying to rape somebody on a goddamn train.
Okay.
But everybody else in the car
Uh-huh.
didn't do anything to stop it and stood around with their phones recording it. While this guy's trying, it's blatant that he's trying to rape her. One of the SEPTA employees stopped it, okay?
Wow.
Notified the transit police, who met them at the stop, and they got the guy. But the framework was that this woman was being raped on the train. And, you know, again, I haven't seen the video, so I'm not trying to, you know, make any type of judgment about who. But let me tell you something. I don't give a fuck if you're black, red, green, white, yellow, if you're fucking 15 years old or if you're fucking 80 years old. If you're on a goddamn train with other people and somebody is being raped, don't just sit there and record it on your fucking phone.
What has our world come to?
I don't think it's so much our world. I think there are elements within our culture, within our society, that simply just don't give a fuck. They just really don't. You know, and again, it's not about race. It's not about politics. It is just really a reflective element within certain, you know, certain threads within the weave, that this type of insanity could go down. Now, me, like, again, I don't give a fuck.
You see that, you're gonna.
All right, if it was King Kong fucking Bundy or Pee Wee Herman doing the raping, you know, I'm gonna jump the fuck in, because guess what? That could be my sister, that could be my niece, my mother. Now, granted, I don't have a daughter, but in the same framework, what the fuck, man? You know, and also too, you know, I would, considering some of the elements that are going on, and again, I talked about this last week a little bit, and I mentioned it earlier in the beginning with the whole Dave Chappelle thing. You know, we're also, let me rephrase this, a lot of people are really quick to want to cancel people because they said an off-color joke, or because they were a Karen and they were talking some racist bullshit. How about we cancel the people who can't even be bothered to attempt to stop a fucking rape, and they'll just sit back on their goddamn phones? Because guess what? I can guarantee you that at least one or two of them put that shit out somewhere. So all we got to do is connect the dots.
Right.
All right? Let's cancel the motherfuckers that couldn't even be bothered to do the human thing.
Even to say,
an attempt to stop a goddamn rape. That's not entertaining. That's not funny. That's not World Star. That's fucking bullshit. Believe me, there's enough natural comedy and stupidity out there to catch in a Walmart on any given day of the week, that you don't just let this shit go down right in front of you. You
absolutely.
don't.
And I agree
okay?
with Debbie. Those motherfuckers are just as responsible.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, if nothing else, you know, and I intend to do a little bit of looking. Granting, maybe my reach isn't this far, but, you know, maybe I'll start a trend.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think that's some repugnant shit. It's fucked up.
That is very fucked up.
You know what I mean? You know, there's a case to be made about minding your own business in a situation, but
it's interesting
there's a threshold.
It's interesting to me that people in person like that will sit there and quote unquote mind their own business or just record it and whatever. But when you get them behind a fucking keyboard, they turn into keyboard warriors.
Oh,
they have their opinions, they'll splatter everywhere and whatever.
You know,
but
some of it goes back to some of the framework.
Get involved
right.
behind a keyboard, but not in real life.
You know,
really?
some of these twisted, you know, elements. You know, I've heard this one. You know, snitches get stitches. You know what I mean? What a fucking asinine, you know, concept. It's just like, oh, you know, if you rather knock somebody out, you know, you're gonna get yours. You know, it's like bullshit. You know, it's one thing you're gonna protect your, you know, your boy or your girl. You know what I mean? We all gotta make choices and stuff. But if somebody's fucking raping somebody, fuck you. All right, fuck you. Fuck your bullshit. Fuck your code. Fuck your color. Fuck. Okay? And you can tell them the old wolf, a.k.a. Francis Capel, Rochester, New York, said it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Homie, don't play that.
No, I am blown away by that.
See, it gets me pissed off. Like, I get
yeah,
all agitated. I'm all up in the mic like, yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
No, sorry,
listen,
not sorry.
You know,
no, somebody needs to voice this shit.
I believe one of the elements that needs to be addressed in our culture overall, we need to be better with our words, but we also need to confront some of these elements of fear. You know, granted, things have been a little sideways. People have been tweaking out left and right, you know, fucking, you know, having full-on brawls at fucking college, you know, football games and shooting each other in fucking Walmart and all kinds of crazy shit. But nonetheless, if we as a collective do not call out the bullshit for what it is, if we do not stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, then it really can never truly change.
Well, then we become the silent majority, and then we're just as much a part of the problem if we don't speak the fuck up about it.
Listen, again, context. I get it. Listen, if you're, you know, if you're a young woman, say, you're by yourself, okay, and you see, you know, 10 gnarly looking biker dudes, you know, doing some shit, I'm not going to blame you if you run and go make a 911 call from 10 blocks away, because
that 911 call.
Because there is a framework for common sense, you know what I mean? One person, and that's not to say that a woman is less than, I'm just using it for the visual. But again, if you're one person and you've got 10 people, I don't expect you to, again, you know, make yourself part of the collateral damage. Make whatever effort you can. Now, me personally, and I think Josh is with me on this, you know, we're the type of people, you know, come hell or high water, you know, 10 dudes, 1 dude, I'm gonna jump in.
But
you know.
there's definitely
My inner Batman will not let me walk the fuck away. It just won't.
The Aries in me would probably get other people like, get up, help me.
See, you'll get me in trouble before I will. I know it already.
Yeah, probably.
But that's cool too, because I don't mind. You know what I mean? So that's why we make such a great team, I think, too.
But I've been that person that, you know, helped somebody who was getting their car stolen, their boyfriend hanging half out of the car, you know, kind of thing. There's a hell of a story with that one. But I mean, it's like there's a context of her being able to get involved, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of crazy stories. Debbie shares an interesting one about a crazy homeless woman on the train. Someone threw a bag, trash away in front of her. She dug right in the can, rifled through the bag. You were delivering, I guess, cake pops, and you gave her a few thinking she was hungry. And she freaked out, smearing it all over the place. Yeah, listen, sometimes, despite our best intentions and efforts, things will go fucking weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Listen, I did a show once many years ago where, a guy was up front, having a good time, banging, you know what I mean? And, you seemed, like one of those people that, doesn't get to engage all that often. So we kind of did all right, let's be cool and let him come on stage. And worst mistake we ever made, never did it again, but long story short, he came up on stage and pulled his dick out and started to piss.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Yeah, never doing that again.
Yep, never doing that again.
So, yeah, Josh, you're right. Your being would not allow you to sit on by, and the whole bystander effect that Sherry's talking about,
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right? So... But, you do what you can do, and
right.
And that's, sometimes what you can do is a podcast where you speak the truth.
But here's the other thing. In how we express ourselves, and this is not just reflective in the elements of, like, what I'm doing, but also in the reflective elements of how we feel.
Yeah.
The things that we're going through, either in the present or be they in the past, and even sometimes to some degrees how we perceive things going into the future. But those elements are not only therapeutic, but they are incredibly powerful talismans. They become not unlike a crystal charge that we can now pass on and we can share with other people. That's one
Absolutely.
of the core elements of the music that I'm doing now. Part of the core elements of many of the things I've done through the years. And two aspects that I do want to talk about in that. One, first, obviously, we have the new track that's being worked on with...
Oh. Powerful.
We have a guest diva. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, guest diva.
I am the Lady Shiya. Yeah. No, actually, the wolf is getting me to singing again. It's been a long time, so he's getting me off of that fence and saying, "Hey, just do it." We have a good friend of ours who has written a beautiful and powerful poem.
Incredibly powerful poem.
About how women can feel very objectified, how we go through our illusions, how we go through just the mental shifts that we go through, trying to deal with our role and how toxic masculinity can affect us at times, and just how it really shapes our self-image. And it's an incredibly powerful poem, and it's an incredibly powerful song. And we did the rough track of it this past weekend. And
yes, we did.
Continue to work on more
fine-tuning it. We ran it through a couple of people, just again to get that initial feedback. But one of the things that hit me, especially in that specific element that you mentioned, was that it was not only about the pain and the reflective part of it, but the empowerment.
Yes.
And that as such, it needed a female voice. Well, I spun it around in my head and I thought about it. It's like, well, Greg and I could, we could do this and that. And I was just like, you know what? This needs a female voice. Now, again, as a musician, I do not believe that rock and roll or music is something that is relegated specifically or uniquely to men.
Yep.
So I don't subscribe to that. Like, I know a lot of guys be like, "Oh, chicks can't do metal." You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, man, get the fuck out of here.
I've got a few examples
to
show them.
And again, everybody likes what they like. Hey, you say potato, I say potato, whatever. But in the core aspect of what I'm doing, at least musically, and what we have been doing within the framework of the workshops and the lives and the mentorship circle and everything like that, is about those elements of manifestation, those elements of empowerment, and the power, the magic that music can and does carry based upon what we put into it. So,
and like you said, giving our demons voice and giving our thoughts voice and
absolutely.
Our emotions voice, it puts it into a whole nother framework. It allows that empowerment to be had.
So, Her Desperate Mind, this is the poem by Suzanne Kuhn. Again, sister, thank you very, very, very much for being a part of this. Again, very, very honored to be able to have the opportunity to translate someone else's story, someone else's perception, somebody's, raw emotion. For a musician and an empath such as myself, it's an incredibly powerful experience, you know what I mean? And it allows me also to take it and put it in a framework so that other people can experience it, take what you need, leave the rest behind, as they say. But it's one of the things that I really have, I'm just going to say, I love since making the shift in being able, to do that, to be able to, take people's concepts, their ideas, their energy, their emotions, and translate them into musical form. But this is the poem again, very powerful, and, take again, well, I think it speaks for itself, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There will be a place for that with your voice coming down very soon. Coming down soon. So yeah, that's, I retrank some of the guitar and drums.
Podcast is when it's going to be debuted.
Yes, it will be debuted on the podcast for sure. Yeah. There are other elements of things, well, within the written element that I've yet to even begin working on, that again Suzanne has gracefully, shared with us. Incredible writer, but it's a great tool. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, Lord Byron. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be fucking Shakespeare. You can convey elements of how you feel, what's going on, your perceptions. Be they through words, be they through drawing, or you know what I mean, any number of things, painting. These are powerful tools
and magic, each one of them.
They have that ritual element of not only manifestation, but of giving, a voice. And a voice doesn't always mean vocal. It can be within a picture. It can be within a smell, even a taste. Will convey that voice. Chocolate has a flavor. You know what I mean? And that voice, quote unquote, translate based off of it. Now, granted, everybody's, we'll all have a little bit of variation on it, but it is a common element, just like love and pain, fear. These are common elements that we can relate to.
I don't know about you, but I know for you, I do know about you in this, but for me growing up, hearing certain songs would evoke feeling and healing for me. Sometimes it would bring out my feelings, sometimes it would help me quantify my feelings and find a way to truly express them and say, this song, this is how I feel. And
absolutely.
music is extremely powerful for that.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the very early years of the transition to childhood into pseudo adulthood, music was, the saving grace, and many of those elements still carry to this day, and, case in point, I'll use the obvious analogy for us that's become our nighttime ritual many times, more than not. Echoes by Pink Floyd. It's like a 23-minute track. It's just this incredible. Yeah, well, fucking Echo.
Echo, stop.
Yeah, you just say the word fucking Echo and she goes off. Echo.
Stop.
Yeah. But yes, that particular track by Pink Floyd from an album called Metal, incredibly powerful, several different elements of the movement within it, but it reflects a period in time not only, relevant to my own personal experiences, but within feelings and perceptions of that time period and, the corresponding emotions, you know what I mean, that tie into it. So it's almost, like a lullaby to some degrees, but it is a comforting piece.
It's calming, and we listen to it all night on repeat.
Yeah. But, music will speak to us in ways that other things will not. Now, again, it doesn't always translate to everybody.
And one song can be completely different for a person.
Absolutely. People will get different messages,
different people,
right? that I've heard people say it was a running joke back in the day. Never listen to Pink Floyd's The Wall while on acid. And the running joke is because there were so many dark, depressive elements within The Wall that if you listen to it on acid, that it would melt your fucking brain.
I can.
And I know people, you know what I mean, that little urban mythology became ingrained in them. That they were actually afraid to listen to particular elements of music because they were afraid of the emotional content that it would carry. Now again, listen, there is a case to be made.
Yeah.
A very honest case to be made that certain music does carry elements of specific energy.
It does.
And, you know, using that analogy, you know, Roger Waters, this was the pinnacle of the beginning of the end of the band, and all the accumulated baggage and resentment and bullshit with, you know, the record companies and money and everything that went along with it. And if you're, you know, anybody who's familiar with the album or the movie, it is a very dark dystopian story.
Very much so. I have to be in a particular mood to watch the movie.
Oh yeah, the movie is a whole nother trippity trip.
I have to be in a particular mood to actually sit through the whole thing. And I've done it several times, but you have to be in just the right framework to be able to watch that.
Yes. And even certain tracks within the music have very, very deep, powerful, you know, empty spaces. You know, is literally, you know, a cry for help from the edge of the fucking abyss.
And actually, for the person who has the monster-in-law, she might want to play the song "Mother" for her husband. I mean, is that appropriate or what?
Yeah, well, you know, go down that particular rabbit hole.
Right. Well, that sounds like the rabbit hole she's already gone down, unfortunately.
But just as a little quick side piece, I hope to, and I am working on the elements for the licensing and stuff at some point in the near future, being able to include not only, you know, new music that, you know, I'm doing, you know, with Greg or with you or any of those other elements, or, you know, Tony and Broken Past, or, you know, some of the other people that I will be bringing in into future podcasts, but also to be able, when we have a context conversation about, say, Pink Floyd, to actually play Pink Floyd and be like, hey, yeah, this is the track, and this is the story, and these are the elements, and actually have a conversation, and, you know, maybe turn somebody onto it who would, you know, not normally be exposed to it. Debbie's like, I remember dropping acid with a guy who would scream about Sid. And for anybody who doesn't know what she's talking about, and Sid is talking about Sid Barrett. And Sid Barrett was the original singer for Pink Floyd, who basically, according to, again, if you believe the urban lore on it, did too much fucking acid and basically lost his shit and had to walk away, and, you know, was institutionalized for, you know, a bit of period of time.
So
and
how much
and
truth
basically
is there to that?
a good amount. I mean, again, I always like to frame things that unless you were there,
You don't
there's
know the whole story.
there's always an element of, because I know a lot of people who've done lots of fucking acid. I've done some. We'll just leave it. I mean, I haven't done it in a long time, but, you know, I've done acid in different variations. And I have to honestly say that the acid in itself, unless it was an absolutely ridiculous dosage or a batch that was completely fucked up, would only be part of the equation. You know what I mean? There were other elements that were going on in his life. There were other elements of traumas, of whatever disconnects or frameworks that brought him to the place. Because you can make the analogy, you know, over, you know, Jim Morrison drinking himself into an early grave, or Janis Joplin, you know, fucking, you know, heroin, you know, her way to the end, or, you know, Jimi Hendrix, or, you know, you can make the case for Chester or Chris Cornell, or, you know, any number of analogies that you can't just say, well, it was just, no, it wasn't just one thing. It was an accumulation.
It's never just one thing.
Right? It's a combination effect of many multifaceted layers. Robin Williams. Robin Williams didn't just all of a sudden one day just be like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That built up over time.
They're actually coming up with a movie about that. Actually.
Good. Listen, I think, again, and this is the tragedy of these elements that, even the best elements of ourselves that we can bring forward are only reflective to the degree of the worst elements that we carry within us. Now, granted, again, we remember these particular stories because they tie into, again, that famous, that notoriety element, you know what I mean? Because, they were, a musician or because they were a comedian. But if we're really honest, if we have an honest conversation, thousands of people fucking die every day under the same types of context.
Well,
we just don't talk about them. We don't remember them because they didn't make an impact. They didn't make enough of that, kind of penetration. Ooh, deep penetration. But, it is a sad but simple truth. Now, again, the people around them are hurt and they feel it, but there is that element, that case to be made that, obviously with more people looking, there'll be more of a common or a group reaction. Like when John Lennon was shot, the whole world, and rightfully so, I remember as a kid, when he died, and I just remember, like, it literally everyone around us, everybody I knew. Right, well, another great analogy. So there are cases to be made, but it is a common theme that that disconnect, that these elements bring us to these dark places.
A lot of empaths are musicians, and a lot of empaths do what they can to self-medicate to kind of dull those senses a little bit.
Yes,
to be able to handle life.
We talked about that at the last workshop. Just that they are symptoms of the underlying traumas and disease, whatever framework or word you choose to apply to it. The song remains the same, no pun intended. They are the elements that drive us to do things like self-medicate or destructive or chaotic behavioral patterns or depression or again any of these elements. There's a wide spectrum.
Absolutely.
But it all swings back around into, okay, so what do we do? You know what I mean? Do we all just sit around and just basically,
strengthen numbers?
Strengthen numbers, but having the conversations, creating a context, a framework.
Yep.
Doing things, as in, what Suzanne did, she took it and she put it into words. She put it into a framework to express that element, not only of her perception, of her experience, but of the feelings that went into it.
I think when we keep things in, that they somehow fester and become like that like septic kind of wound kind of thing, to where when you hold it all in, it just turns into sepsis within, and it just kind of starts corrupting us from the inside, and that becomes
fucking
a big
disgusting.
Part of the problem.
Yeah.
But when we can express it, or as you say, give voice to it, give expression to it, then it becomes empowering rather than harmful. Or it can be. It can be,
yes. I mean, as with most things, well, pretty much everything almost, it's that element of context. Yeah, I don't know so much ever that I had per se a bad trip. I had an instance, where I got into a physical fight because of, a miscommunication between other people, and me being, the idiot that I was, tried to get in there and, be a diplomat when I should have just been Batman in the moment. But needless to say,
you want to hear the funny story that got me to never trying acid?
Oh, please share.
Okay. So I was told a story about a guy and his friends who went to go see the movie Poltergeist. You remember that one?
Ooh, there, yeah.
And one of the guys took some acid before going to watch Poltergeist. Okay, so apparently they're at that scene where, when somebody falls in the pool and then all the hands come out of the pool to grab them. Well, he's flipping out in the middle of the movie theater. His friends are there trying to hold him down in the seat because he's trying to flip out and run out right when the scene of the pool comes on. Needless to say, a lot of people got beaten up that day. So I heard that story and I'm like, yeah, I'm never doing it.
Well,
I'm
never
doing that.
The common element here is that in any.
But why would you do acid before going to see Poltergeist?
Listen,
in the theater?
why people do half the things they do. We talked about this, and we'll bring it up again because it's relevant. Why do people put gerbils in their ass? I don't know.
My God,
I can't relate to it. I don't condone it. But it's still a thing. So hey, go figure. Acid stories. Again, in that one context, it was definitely not a fun time. My brain didn't melt down.
Well, that's good.
I will say when I went out to Arizona and I did the peyote ritual, that was a different kind of experience because I was full tilt boogie for 2 solid days.
Wow.
and there were elements of that. No joke, man. I was sitting in the desert watching the Pink Panther fucking running around. You know what I mean? And as far as I was concerned, that shit was real. It was real. Like fucking.
Did the Pink Panther have the theme song now?
No, there was no theme. Listen, it again, it's hard to translate. Again, everything's perceptional. There's different types of hallucinogenics. You have psilocybin, which is within the shrooms and stuff,
I like
different
shrooms.
type. You have mescaline, you know what I mean, which again is the active component within peyote, but even that you have in different varying degrees, and then you've got all your bathtub variations.
Oh, good gods.
Diana, she talks about watching a girl tripping her ass off, got tied to a fence to keep her from clawing her face out. Yeah, listen, that's a great reason not to do it, and I will
space.
Listen, I will say this honestly, okay, because it needs to be said. The acid, quote unquote, of the time, aka your Woodstock era acid, is not the same thing, unfortunately, that's floating around out here. You have a lot of variations, a lot of
a lot more chemicals.
Fucking
involved.
Breaking Bad, little Dexter, fucking madman scientists making all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, like that bath salts where somebody literally zombie mode and tried to eat somebody else alive.
I knew a guy who took what he thought was acid and it turned out to be Molly, and he just went buggy for like 4.5 hours. Again, it is unfortunately, I say to people, if you're gonna dance with something that you at least know what it is. Mushrooms.
Yeah.
Granted, you still have to have a little bit of intelligence because there are poisonous mushrooms out there, people. So don't just go out there and randomly pick some fucking. All right, don't be a fucking hobbit and just grab a mushroom and shove it in your mouth, because that might be the last fucking thing you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And don't take the brown acid.
Yeah, don't take the brown acid. Absolutely. But yeah, it's a framework. It's situational. I know people, I have a friend, who she wanted to do the experience, so we kind of anchored for her and stuff like that, so she could. So, and I listen, I've seen some crazy shit. I talked about this, I think it was last time. One of my first experiences, and again, it's stereotypical, was at a Grateful Dead show.
Oh,
where a hippie just walked up to me and be like, hey man, and just like, boom.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh. Yeah, fentanyl, there's all kinds of fucking stupid shit. So I tell people, stay away from the stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't know where the fuck it's coming from. It's not worth it. There are other ways you can get to the same place. A whole lot of better experiences. May has an interesting context that, we still have some time. We're gonna hit on. How do you shut off your empathic sensors while in public or crowds? Well,
it's an
easier said than done. As a
so.
musician, having performed for years, on again, off again, in front of people, I struggle with it still to certain degrees. It is, I guess, using the spell casting analogy, it is concentration. You need to be able to focus yourself into a point where whatever is going on around you simply does not exist, aka not unlike turning off the volume on a radio. And that's the analogy that I use.
And of course, talismans. I load myself up.
Talismans will help, you know what I mean? Anything that will give you that little extra element of manifestation, that extra element to reinforce it. Again, I've talked about this before. I tend to perform with my eyes closed.
You tend to perform with your eyes closed.
Yeah, well, listen, that visual element, if I don't see it,
it doesn't exist.
And to be really blunt, when I'm on stage, especially when, you've got, 100 watts of martial power blasting, 3 feet from behind you.
Yep.
My brother Tony Rodriguez, let me tell you, I love that man. But let me tell you, he's got Lemmy in his blood. He fucking hits on that bass. Boom. And you literally can feel the genes in your fucking bones. You can feel the DNA attempting to rewrite itself. Because it's just like, what the fuck? And it's great, don't get me wrong. I say that, in a sarcastic, funny type of element. But yeah, so I surely don't hear anything that's going on in the fucking audience, Right. For all intents and purposes, you might as well throw up sign language. You got a better chance. But again, with my eye closed, I'm not going to see it. Exactly. So for all intents and purposes, I've eliminated 2 out of the main input sources. I don't see you. So if you're flashing your titties at me, guess what? You're not going to distract me because I don't see your titties. And I'm not going to hear you because all I hear is my guitar and Tony on the fucking bass and the drums behind me. And if I'm lucky, Jim or Greg on vocals. Yeah. So I don't hear shit. The only thing I'm smelling probably is whatever's closest to me. And, I know in this particular case, like when I used to perform with the Monkey always wore a particular variety of axe. So all I smelled was his fucking axe.
There you go.
Maybe stale beer and maybe smoke, depending upon the venue. And I surely wasn't going to fucking taste anything.
No.
I don't lick shit when I'm on stage. I don't care what anybody says, man. That's
eating
that's a
bats.
one-way ticket to getting fucked up, man.
No eating bats, biting heads off of bats.
Well,
like that.
that's performance. Sorry, that's another story for another day. But again, the analogy being, you cut off the elements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For me, I always
turn,
like if I'm doing an event or something like that, I make sure to set up my personal space as far as my event stuff, or that kind of envisioning oneself in a bubble, and like you said, that concentration of maintaining your space and your aura. And if you're concentrating on your own self and your own aura, you can push a lot of stuff out. But
again, Diana says, for the person trying, breathe,
Yes.
Simple little things, and again, play around with it, obsidian, smoky quartz,
hematite,
maybe a hay penny or a fucking silver $50. I have a gold dollar that I carry, and I also have that flat stone.
Yes.
From
hematite.
The one from South Dakota, not the one you gave me. I have one from South Dakota that's just basically a river-worn rock. But for me, it is, again, it's a focus. You know what I mean? It's an element that I connect to.
Yeah.
So, you play around with it. You try the things that you can. You experiment. I always recommend, try. What's the worst case scenario? No, it doesn't work. You check it off your list. But most importantly, don't get frustrated if it doesn't work, because it is not an exact science. By default, because we are empathic to some degrees, many times it's going to carry over.
Yeah, and
whether we like it or not.
Like, there's a point to where, like, when we went over to Rubino's, I was fine for a while.
Yeah, then you had to get the fuck out.
After a bit, I'm like, I'm out. I can't deal with this anymore. The people were.
She can't even go to, like, I do the Walmart, like, whenever we have to go to Walmart, I do the Walmart run, because she can't even go in fucking Walmart.
I can. I run out after a little bit.
Yeah. You can't do the Walmart.
I can. I just don't like to.
But yet, listen, again, it translates differently. You know what I mean? And as with most things, we have to learn. We have to practice. We have to reinforce it, fine tune it.
Hell, I don't even like going to Wegmans if I can avoid it. But if I'm going to a grocery store, people are so negative energy at the freaking grocery store. I just get in, get my shit, get out. That's the best thing I can do. Because they're already, and I try to avoid negative energy contexts if I can.
Well, listen, again, that is always obviously helpful in the baseline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you know something's fucked up, it's like, well, don't go there.
Right?
You know what I mean? It's like, it's like walking down the street and seeing a big steaming pile of fresh dog shit and just deciding to jump into it.
Yeah,
like,
no, I think
just walk around it.
I'll walk around it. Hell, I might even cross the fucking street to avoid it. Thank you very much.
Debbie, have a great time. Yes, and, well, if you're going to drop acid, I mean, be careful, honey. You know what I mean?
She's teasing.
Yeah, but what if she's not?
She said she is.
Because you never know these days.
You never know. Never know. Could be anything.
Maybe now she's just, if she's done acid before, ooh, you know what it is? That's what I got a flash.
Uh-oh.
She's going to have a flashback.
Uh-oh.
You're going to have a flashback, Deb. Be careful. Okay? This is what happens. Listen, sometimes you don't even...
is casting his magic.
Sometimes you don't even... No, listen, this is just the way the universe works. Sometimes you don't even have to crack the door open. All you have to do is walk past it.
And then you smell the shit. You walk past the shit.
And the universe is like, oh, yeah. Remember that time where you didn't think it was anything and it didn't work? Well, it's been sitting in your spinal cord for 28 years, waiting to finally arrive. Be like, hi, Debbie. Mm-hmm. Remember me? No, you're going to be fine, hon.
He's picking on you.
No, listen, again.
It's all in good
listen,
fun.
I've heard people talk so many times about flashbacks. I'd like to have one.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, why
you
not?
Want a flashback?
Why not?
I don't know. Why would you want
I mean, if it's a good flashback.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to flashback to some fucked up, episode.
But see, that's what normally happens with flashbacks.
I don't know. Listen, I've had people talk about, like, good flashbacks.
The evil men do lives after them, the good is often turned with the boss. Your memory tends to hold on to the trauma, bullshit, crappy-ass moments. And so, just when you least expect it, boom! Crappy-ass memory! That's
whoa, like lightning!
Yeah, not so much fun. Yeah, make sure you...
She's like, no, you don't want some flashback.
Yeah, right?
Again, I'm just one of those people, you know what I mean, especially in the framework. I've heard people talk about it, but... You know what I mean? And don't take me wrong.
People talking about
I don't think, like...
Too. I'm not going to do it.
I wouldn't compare myself to, like, a Tim Leary as far as the amount of acid I did back in the day. But I feel confident that I did it more than the average guy, probably. I did go... I went to a lot of Grateful Dead shows. I performed and went places and... did things.
I've heard cool stories about people jumping out of planes and parachutes. You want to do that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great story. Yeah, actually, a buddy of mine who was a member of our foundation and we'll just say he was part of the original inner circle within the music and stuff like that. But he told me a story basically about his days in the service. And one of their final little, I guess, training type. Well, they would periodically go out and do, these specialty type of trainings. But long story short, him and the guys decided they were gonna drop acid when they did their parachute drop. So they basically, the whole group of them dropped acid.
Oh my God.
And jumped out and did their, parachuting, and he said it was an incredibly wild, they had a blast. Listen, again.
Bucket list.
Say what you will. Oh, no, fuck that. Oh, no. There's no way you will get this boy to jump out of a motherfucking airplane. Well, listen, again, you have to remember in the context, and I will just say this in as simplest as I can, because I don't have the direct experience, but in my conversations with a lot of guys who have come back from active combat and these really hairy, fucked up type of situations, that in many ways they become adrenaline junkies, that they need
I've heard that
fix, that excitement element.
I've heard that too.
And, you know, it really, you know, I think the framework, and at least the way that he explained it, is, you know, they were a tight group of guys, you know what I mean? And some, you know, it came up in the context of a conversation, they were all like, you know, fuck it. You know what I mean? We jump out of airplanes into fucking, you know, war zones with fucking people shooting at us out of goddamn fucking holes and mountains and shit.
Yeah.
Why not? You know what I mean?
Well,
and granted, well, yeah, it's like that happens with men who have aggression.
If at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you.
Right, well, that's definitely one of those one-off moments.
Yeah.
But, I thought it was actually a really powerful and really positive experience about, you know, the elements about how they bonded. And that they all had the steel balls to basically take acid and jump out of a motherfucking plane.
I can't even imagine.
You know, I couldn't jump out of a plane straight, let alone, in that framework.
As long as we're talking about flashbacks, we might want to flash back to somebody from your past sometime soon. You were talking about sharing a song from someone.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Welcome.
My brother, Greg Carr Schumann. Yes, for those of you who are not familiar, and I've shared this before, but I'm going to share it again, obviously. My brother, Greg, and I go back almost 30 years. He was best man at my wedding, and again, redundantly, I don't hold that against him. Still love him, but lives took a different course. But we both stayed involved in music over the years, and with that, we reconnected about a month or so ago down in Jersey at a friend's birthday party, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And reconnected and decided on talking to write some new music and potentially perform next year and build upon the elements that we have not only in common but that we have both respectively experienced over the years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play another track of his from his collection that he has entitled and calls the Timeless Classics Volume 1. I'm going to post up the link. You can show my brother some love. Go over there, check him out.
He's got
subscribe.
an amazing voice, and I can say,
and
having met him, he's
great
an
guy.
Amazing person. He's just really.
But he's my brother, and
to know him.
He will be a big part of music that will be coming out down the pike. So with that, I'm going to switch it on over.
He was chrome and rust, a little bit older, worked his whole life to scrape by. She was sad but so pretty, with stars in her eyes, seeking fire inside. First sight at a stoplight, they saw what they wanted, behind and ahead and took off. All I got is these gas station roses and a tank full of diesel to take you away. You mean so much more than these gas station roses. You're sad but so pretty, I thought of your eyes. Sun and rain and tears on flowers from seeds of a new life beyond. When they drove that road, it never would end. There were smiles and tears all along. They wanted it badly, just couldn't get in. Turning away, he said, all I got is these gas station roses and a tank full of diesel to take you away. You mean so much more than these gas station roses. You're sad but so pretty, I thought of your eyes. And he wanted more, and she wanted more. The bright stars began to gray. The ups and the downs, the old in and out. I guess some loves just never fade away. All I got is these gas station roses and a tank full of diesel to take you away. You mean so much more than these gas station roses. You're sad but so pretty, I thought of your eyes. All I got is these gas station roses and a heart full of freedom to take you away. You mean so much more than these gas station roses. You're sad but so pretty, I thought of your eyes. All I got is these gas station roses and a heart full of freedom to take you away tonight.
So yeah, that was my brother, Greg Carr Schumann again, Gas Station Roses from his Timeless Classics. Again, the link's up there. Please support a brother out. Go check him out. And again, coming up, we do have the Dream Analysis Workshop, November 2nd, November 4th, and November 6th. Respectfully.
Tuesday, Thursday, and a Saturday.
Tuesday,
so
Thursday,
somebody
Saturday.
ought to be able to find a good time for it.
Well, we added the third one because it's just, we have so many people who are like, hey, my schedule's this, my schedule's that, and, obviously we want to try and
We want to try to be
accommodate,
Yes.
to make it easier for
Now,
people.
This is going to be an extra special workshop simply because you're actually doing dream analysis for people, and they'll have a chance to submit a dream to you, and then you guys will have a conversation about that dream during the workshop.
Well, again, practical application, sometimes these elements, and, we've had this conversation on your lives as well, too. People need elements that apply directly to them in a way that they can understand. And that really is half the battle I have found in any element of teaching or within, tarot or runes or numerology, astrology. All of it is that element of translating, being able to put it into a context that a person can understand and even more importantly relate to.
Well, you use a good analogy on dreams as snakes. Like, for example, somebody who has snakes in their dreams. One person, it can mean, lying or danger, and another person may adore snakes, and that could mean love or change, and it's just really
much of
the person.
Much of the basic, I guess you could say, literature and knowledge out there is very, very one-dimensional. It is very much...
Red means anger.
Right. It is steeped in very, very generic analogies. A lot of them are tied into, I'll call them for what they are, superstition elements.
Yes.
And that's not to discredit anybody's particular belief or their particular take on it. I trust my instincts in how I was taught and how I translate. You know, take what you need, leave the rest behind.
Yep. Speaking of superstition, aren't we doing something next week?
We may have some conversations, you know, right up on, you know, the Halloween dance, a little bit about some superstition and lore.
Yeah.
You know, crack out some old black and white silent Nosferatu.
Oh, there we
Whoa.
Go. That sounds like fun. So it's going to be a great podcast next week, that's for darn sure.
Yes, and depending upon certain things, we may have some other interesting elements to bring to the table, you know.
New music. New music.
Licensing.
New music. So, yeah.
Yes, you never know. You never know. You know, and as always, you know, we try and keep it organic within that element. Well, listen, it's more honest.
It is, and it's more fun. It's more engaging.
You know. You know, I could do that. Hi, I'm Wacky Bob. Welcome to my script. We're going to talk about a lot of really white, breadish kind of, well, maybe milquetoast, but no, nothing really interesting. We'll be politically correct and politically insensitive, but hey.
You actually do that voice really scaringly well.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I'm kind of slightly terrified at the moment by that. I mean, because and you've done this before. And
you know, this is an element.
DJ voice.
And it's no coincidence. We were doing the live, and I forget who the fuck it was, but somebody was just like, "You really should just do a podcast." And my brain was like, "Yeah, why not?"
Podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast fun.
There's too many motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. I need to do a podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah. So here it is. But it expands upon, again, you know, in all seriousness, about elements that you and I have been building and kind of exploring and adapting, you know, again, within, you know, different elements. And, you know, this thing I thought was really beautiful that you made today. Yes.
Yes. So
yes, we have a whole bunch of shameless self-promotionary type of stuff.
Hey, it keeps the lights on.
Yes, it is what it is.
Yes, so, you know, I did a little thing that shows our services, and that way people are like, well, what the fuck do you do? Well, this is what we do, you know?
She talks to dead people.
Yes, I talk to dead people. Actually, I was really happy that yesterday, I only do it on Mondays, Mediumship Monday, but I was really happy that the 2 dead people that I talked to yesterday weren't a pain in the ass.
I always listen. It's a running joke, but it is common knowledge amongst your circle, at least, that Monday nights I dip the fuck out.
He does.
I'm like, oh,
like, nope,
dead people coming over. I'm out. Peace.
Well, I actually get a matter of apprehension too, because when you have a dead person who hasn't crossed the veil and hasn't found their context for peace, they get a little cuckoo in the Cocoa Puffs. Yeah. And they get really annoying.
That's putting it gently.
That's putting it very gently. Yeah. So I always brace myself, like, are they across the veil and at peace? Oh, thank the gods.
And let me tell you, this ain't some Ouija board bullshit, man.
No.
All right?
You've seen
Believe what you want, but let me tell you, okay? And this is, you know, I say this, and I mean this a lot. You know, I get this, you know, people be like, oh, that's a bunch of bullshit. I never seen that. I never experienced it. I never touched it. I never tasted it. It can't be real. I'm like, you know what? That's cool. Exist there within your plastic bubble, because the first time that shit comes crawling out in reality on you, your little fucking mind is going to shred. It's going to shred on top of itself. You know what? And there is a case to be made that, you know, that kind of ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I would have loved it to have never been able to talk to dead people. I mean, I would be very, very, very happy not to be a medium. I always called myself a reluctant medium for years, because dead people, they think they know everything. Even ones that have crossed, for some reason, they think they know every fucking thing, and they just, when they find somebody that they can talk to, oh my God, they make me look quiet.
Oh, well.
Yeah, the other day I was actually speechless on something, and the wolf pulls out his phone, like, wait a second, I'm going to take a picture. Shiya is speechless.
But it is one of the dynamics I do love about you.
What? That I don't shut up?
Well, you speak your mind. Listen.
I'm going to tell you that next time you want
There's
me to
nothing wrong. Well, see, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up.
That's fucked up.
No, I do speak my mind.
But Alana's here says that she made you a crown.
Ooh.
With the crown came nothing. Anyway.
Yeah, send me a message. I will definitely get you my address so you can ship that up. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. I know you mentioned that you were going to do that, and I thought,
yes,
okay,
thank
that's
you,
nice,
thank you.
And just kind of let it go.
And we will, and when I will make it a point, we will, I will, she will, together.
What, you're gonna wear a crown?
All together now. All together now. Anyway, together we will make it a point. Alana, I know, like, you know, Chanel, Ashley, a lot of the people within our circle do have elements of things that they do.
Yes, and we want to.
And we want to make it a point. Absolutely. So we'll make it a point to get some of that stuff out here on one of our podcasts, and you know, feel free. You know, again, any of you folks on Facebook, the Crown Lady. Can I call you the Crown Lady?
You can call her the Crown
You know, like
Lady.
I don't want that to sound like, you know, like I'm trying to be weird or fucked up or disparaging or
I give
anything like
everybody
that.
nicknames,
I think
so
it's really cool.
Alana can be the Crown Lady.
See, I can't make crowns. I don't know anything about that.
I think you should wear one of my crystal crowns.
I can make a crown of thorns, but that's a conversation for another time.
Can I put a crystal crown on you?
Fuck no.
Ah, Jesus. I was trying.
Nope. Yeah, don't answer.
Diana
She's a
said
reluctant medium, too.
Look, yes, the dead are persistent, and sometimes they don't stop until they get their message. Yeah, that's true, but I've learned how to threaten them within an inch of their afterlives, so they leave me the fuck alone unless I call them most of the time. So there you go.
And I can tell, Alana, I can totally relate to that element. I came up here to Rochester, and again, it's, well, I've talked about it before.
Yeah, Josh as well.
I'll talk about it again. I literally ran away up here to escape and to go through what you're referring to, that ancestral healing. It's a powerful element, and sometimes we need to do that.
And I ran away here too for my card said go to Rochester, and I'm like, why? And then I wanted to leave, and my card said stay in Rochester, and I'm like, why? And then all of a sudden, here's why. There's a wolf here. We brought him all the way up here for you. And
there's a big bad wolf just waiting for the little Red Riding Witch.
Just blow my house down.
Yeah.
So Josh,
Stop it.
yeah, Josh, you've worn one of my crowns, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
she's
got Josh's vote. That's a good endorsement right there. Yeah. So again, gonna close it out with one of the latest tracks that I did with my brother John Porter, who you know, created a really nice framework. Again, similar to what we were discussing earlier with Suzanne's poem.
Can be an inspiration.
Listen, any element can be an inspiration for music, for poetry, for writing, for art. It's just how we choose to express it. And again, strength in numbers means that we get access. We can tap into other elements, other people that they can bring to. So that was pretty much, you know, again, the framework here with John and I was that he had a concept, an idea. We kind of bounced it back and forth, and created.
And you did the same thing for the
Time of the
track.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
what's that?
You did the same thing for the wedding track. You talked to the couple and got their
for Lee and Derek's wedding, right?
For Lee and Derek,
which we will do. We will do here one night when I have them on to talk about it specifically.
Have a video for
right.
That. Yeah. So.
But listen, we're going to close it out with Time of the Phoenix. It was great, as always. Thank you again for all your love and support. Please, again, feel free to share it out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out, ladyshia.com, Facebook.
Don't miss out on the full moon reading.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Powerful.
Trigger.
Full moon readings. It's going to be one hell of a thing tomorrow night. Power. So don't miss out.
What time is it tomorrow?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Let me see if I can
out.
do that, DJ. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't do it as good as you.
No.
You should do it.
No.
Yeah, you should do it now.
Come on now. Tomorrow, Facebook, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss it. Don't be late.
There you go.
All right.
Perfect.
So again, we're going to close it out with Time of the Phoenix. Know that you're loved. Peace out.
Peace out.
Turn back the time, then I wouldn't change any line. my life is written in stone. I never regretted all the things that I've done. 'Cause the book of my life is written in stone. I never regretted all the things that I've done. 'Cause the book of my life is written in stone. I never regretted all the things that I've done. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, you got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, you got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. Things that I've done, the 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 things that I've done. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. The time's not ripe to die. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. The time's not ripe to die.